The 1872 St. Louis train robbery, Jesse James's most successful heist. Jesse James was known for his cunning and ruthlessness, and in the 1870s, he and his gang became infamous for robbing banks, trains, and even stagecoaches across the American Midwest. While many of their robberies were marked by violence and chaos, there was one robbery that stood out. Not only because of its success, but also because of how flawlessly it was executed. This robbery would cement Jesse James's reputation as one of the most daring and calculated outlaws of the Wild West. It was the night of July 21st when Jesse James and his gang set their sights on a train traveling from St. Louis to Kansas City. The train, known as the Pacific Railroad, was a symbol of the growing industrial age. It was heavily guarded, but Jesse and his gang had a plan. They knew the route well, and the timing of the robbery would be key to its success. The gang had been planning the heist for weeks. They knew that the train would be carrying a large amount of cash and valuables, including the payroll for the workers of the railroad. The payout was rumored to be worth a small fortune, and Jesse knew this was the perfect opportunity for a big score. On the evening of the robbery, the gang, consisting of Jesse, his brother Frank, and other members of the James Younger gang, including Cole Younger and Jim Younger, waited near a small station in Glenwood, Missouri, where the train was expected to slow down due to a curve in the track. The gang had strategically placed themselves at key points along the route, ready to strike. As the train approached the station at dusk, the gang sprang into action. They flagged down the train, forcing it to stop. The crew was immediately subdued, and the outlaws boarded the train, guns drawn, making it clear that they meant business. The passengers were terrified, but the gang wasn't there to hurt anyone. They were after the money, and they planned to get it quickly. The robbery was executed with military precision. Jesse and his gang went straight for the express car, where the cash and valuables were stored. Meanwhile, they made sure to keep the passengers and crew under control, but not to harm them unless absolutely necessary. The gang tied up the train's engineer and brakeman, preventing them from stopping the train or alerting authorities. Jesse, who had been well known for his boldness, took charge of the operation. He demanded that the express car be opened, and once inside, he discovered a small fortune in cash, gold, and other valuables. The loot was far more than Jesse had expected, and it was quickly loaded into the gang's waiting horses. But the gang didn't just take the money and run. Jesse and his crew meticulously set fire to the express car after looting it, leaving nothing behind for the authorities to find. As the train burned, the gang mounted their horses and rode off into the Missouri night, disappearing into the wilderness before anyone could react. What made this robbery even more remarkable was how cleanly it was executed. The gang was in and out in a matter of minutes, and no one was killed. Jesse James's meticulous planning had paid off. Not only had the gang taken a massive haul, but they had done so without attracting much attention from the law, making their getaway nearly impossible to track. The robbery was a massive success, and it immediately made headlines across the country. The St. Louis train robbery would go down in history as one of the most successful heists of the Wild West era. Jesse James had once again proven that he was a master of his craft, bold, calculating, and ruthless when necessary, but always with an eye for opportunity. In the aftermath of the robbery, authorities launched a massive manhunt for Jesse James and his gang. But by the time they began to search, the outlaws had already vanished into the Missouri countryside. The gang split up, taking different routes to evade capture. The loot was distributed, and Jesse's reputation as the most successful and feared outlaw of his time grew even larger. While Jesse would continue to rob trains, banks, and stagecoaches in the coming years, the 1872 St. Louis train robbery was undoubtedly his most successful and well-executed heist. It gave him a large fortune and cemented his status as a legendary criminal of the Wild West. Despite the success of the robbery, it also highlighted the dangerous and unpredictable nature of life as an outlaw. Jesse James was on top, but the law would continue to chase him, and his criminal career would ultimately end in betrayal and death. But for a time, he was the most notorious and feared outlaw in the West, and the St. Louis train robbery was one of his greatest triumphs. If you enjoyed hearing about this legendary heist, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating true crime stories from the Wild West. Stay tuned for more thrilling tales of outlaws, robberies, and the gritty history of the frontier. Like and subscribe.